So let's start with a scenario. What happens when the hidden wealth of a modern authoritarian state, and we're talking hundreds of millions controlled by a single private banker, becomes the CIA's most prized target?
An absolutely massive target.
And what if the only way into that high-stakes financial fortress is through the banker's wife?
Who also just happens to be a covert foreign intelligence officer herself.
Exactly. Well, that scenario isn't just a fantasy. It's the high-tension reality laid out in the pages of David McCloskey's spy thriller, Moscow X.
And as we prepare to dive into this really complex operational landscape, we want to introduce a new, expanded feature we've designed for you. Discover a new in-depth approach to book coverage with this extended summary.
That's right.
Unlike our previous reviews, which often offered a focused analysis, this feature delivers a comprehensive overview, tracing the intellectual roots, the key arguments, and the real-world impact of the subject. If you appreciate this deeper format, please let us know. Your feedback will absolutely help shape future content.
Our mission today is to provide that in-depth, non-spoiler summary tailored for someone who needs to quickly grasp the central conflict, the character motivations, and the complex tradecraft that makes this book feel so authentic.
It really is modern spy fiction at its best.
It is. It blends realistic CIA and Russian intelligence procedure with intense, character-driven plotting. And to do this, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's Notebook LM, designed to give you deeper, more dynamic book summaries.
So the core setup is incredibly targeted. This is a story about a covert CIA operation aimed squarely at compromising one of Vladimir Putin's private bankers by exploiting these deep, bitter struggles among the Russian elite over their vast, semi-hidden wealth.
Okay, let's unpack the setting then. The book places us in the present day, post-Crimea, which is a reality defined by intense Western sanctions.
And that's not just about political isolation. It completely dictates how the Russian elite have to operate financially. They rely so heavily on these opaque offshore structures and incredibly trusted intermediaries to move and shield their assets.
To keep it liquid.
Exactly. And what the book captures so well is the social dynamic beneath that surface. It's not a simple government hierarchy. Russia is run by a deep, patronage-based system where institutions like the FSB, the SVR, the oligarchs, and the Siloviki,
Which are the powerful figures from security or military services.
that's them, they constantly overlap, compete, and collide. This is a system where loyalty is bought, not earned, and control of wealth equals control of influence. And here's a crucial insight the book provides. Western institutions are not innocent bystanders in this. They're depicted as absolutely essential conduits. The plumbing.
The professional plumbing, yes. We're talking high-end London law firms, Swiss banks, shell companies, all the things that keep sanctioned Russian wealth flowing globally. The CIA knows if you want to attack the system, you attack that infrastructure.
That's the macro environment. The story itself kicks off with this stunningly brutal trigger event that immediately shows this intra-elite struggle is boiling over. A senior FSB-linked figure executes a brazen seizure. He takes a massive cache of gold bars and wealth from a former colleague.
A rival who had become this rich horse farmer.
Right.
And it's more than just a theft. It's an act of public humiliation, a calculated power grab inside that inner circle. The book uses this to show the fractures that the fight is now between the people at the very top. This violent seizure is the spark that forces our main character, Anna Agapova, to act.
Anna Andreevna Agapova is really the fulcrum of the entire operation. She's introduced as incredibly tough, very competent, the daughter of a powerful former KGB chairman.
So she has a pedigree?
Serious one. And she is not just a civilian. She's an SVR officer, Russia's foreign intelligence service, operating under what they call non-official cover, or a NOC.
Let's pause on that because the NOC status is vital to her risk profile. She isn't working out of an embassy with any kind of diplomatic protection.
None at all.
She is embedded under a civilian identity at Bank Russia, a bank known in the real world for its close ties to Kremlin insiders. This cover gives her access, but if she's caught, she has zero protection.
Meaning a swift and silent elimination is always on the table. And her marriage, well, it seals her fate. She's married to Vadim, one of Putin's most trusted private bankers. Vadim controls hundreds of millions of the Russian president's personal treasure. So Anna's double-life SVR officer and banker's wife puts her right where the CIA wants to strike, at the intersection of state power, family loyalty, and the hidden money itself.
Exactly. So when Russia reveals this kind of internal instability, how does the CIA even begin to exploit that? That brings us to their response, led by Artemis Aphrodite Proctor. If you remember her from Damascus Station, you know she's inventive, blunt, and absolutely results-driven.
Proctor is given a very specific mandate for Moscow X, the new unit she leads from Langley. They aren't running traditional spies asking for political secrets. Their goal is to exploit the financial vulnerability of key decision makers.
So they're using elite economic channels to gain leverage. That's it. Targeting Vadim and Anna isn't about mere intelligence gathering. It's about gaining control of the ultimate political pressure point, the boss's money. And to execute this, they deploy Sia Fox. Sia is a fantastic character, an adrenaline-seeking CIA officer working under extremely sophisticated commercial cover. She poses as this stylish, high-performing corporate lawyer in a London firm that just happens to specialize in—
Wealthy Russians.
you guessed it, wealthy Russians and their complex offshore trusts.
Her cover is perfect because it's high utility. She is exactly who a nervous Russian elite would turn to when sanctions or rivals start closing in. And it's this professional necessity that brings Anna to Sia's firm, seeking legal help to secure her family's wealth after that gold seizure.
So the connection is established professionally. It seems innocent, but both women are intelligence officers from the moment they shake hands.
And the operation needs a partner, which brings us to Maximiliano Aragon, or Max. Max is a Mexican national whose family owns this incredibly prestigious horse breeding ranch in northern Mexico.
And that ranch is the key to his recruitment, isn't it?
It is. The book reveals this ranch has been a long-standing covert CIA platform dating all the way back to the 1960s. For Max, the ranch is literally an inheritance of espionage, trapping him into working for the agency. That is an excellent twist. So, Sia and Max are paired. Their cover is simple but brilliant. They pose as a romantic couple who can host elite clients at Max's sprawling ranch, all under the pretext of buying and selling incredibly expensive racehorses. The ranch is the initial stage, the controlled environment. The CIA invites Anna and Vadim for a luxury horse buying trip. This is a critical move.
Okay.
It pulls the Tier 1 target, Vadim, out of his secured Russian environment and places him in a location the CIA can essentially run.
Right. Mexico allows the CIA to breathe and execute the initial assessment. So Sia's immediate goal isn't to recruit Vadim, but to assess Anna. Is she vulnerable? Can she be flipped?
And meanwhile, Max is tasked with distracting Vadim, probing for any weaknesses, addictions, insecurities, whatever he can find.
What's fascinating here is the sheer complexity of the mutual recruitment game. From Moscow X's perspective, Sia is trying to turn Anna into a CIA source, leveraging their professional rapport and Anna's growing stress over her family's safety.
But, and this is the twist that drives the entire narrative, Anna, the SVR officer, is also running her own quiet, parallel recruitment operation. She's attempting to flip Sia, this Western lawyer, to help her recover her father's stolen wealth.
So it's a total spy versus spy dynamic.
Completely. Both women are operating under deep cover, both are incredibly high-functioning officers, and both are constantly testing and probing the other's story, trying to figure out if the person across from them is the key to their survival or the instrument of their ruin.
That requires immense psychological fortitude. Speaking of deep analytical processes, for those who enjoy taking a moment for reflection and rational, thought-mindful moments, our YouTube channel offers AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques. It's a great resource, especially valuable for aspiring authors looking to understand how these complex character dynamics are built.
And that initial assessment phase, it ends pretty quickly when events back in Russia dramatically escalate. The rival oligarch, Gusev, moves decisively against Anna's family by engineering the high-profile arrest of her father.
A former KGB chairman? That's a huge move.
It's a devastating move. It destroys Anna's professional maneuvering room. The stakes instantly jump from financial security to personal survival and family legacy. The pressure just tightens the noose around her,
Forcing her to take risks, including deeper cooperation with the Western lawyer she's theoretically supposed to be hunting.
and that's the signal for the operation to shift into hostile territory. Sia and Max move from the comfortable ranch into Russia itself, using their commercial covers, legal services, financial deals as justification.
But isn't sending a team into this FSB-flavored territory essentially suicidal? I mean, how is that risk justified?
It is, and that's where the Tier 1 target payoff comes in. The book meticulously describes Russian society as deeply compromised. Surveillance is everywhere, informants are listening, and the threat of state-sanctioned violence is constant. The risk is only worth it because they are targeting the source of power itself. Vadim, the banker. This is where the book really delivers its technical depth. It depicts the intense training required, often referred to as Tier 1 target tradecraft, or TOTT. We hear that term, but what makes TOTT so different?
Well, TOTT refers to the extreme operational security required when you're targeting principals, like the president's banker inside a hostile capital. It's flawless professional theater.
So, complex surveillance detection routes, safe houses.
Ever-changing communication methods, absolute compartmentation between the officer's public cover and their real mission. It requires an officer to live under a level of psychological stress and hypervigilance that is almost unsustainable. One tiny slip, a wrong glance, a forgotten detail can mean exposure and death. And the book doesn't shy away from the human cost of maintaining that flawless cover. The narrative builds to these scenes where the covers become incredibly fragile and Russian surveillance is just closing in.
Yes, we witness the immense psychological strain on Sia. The author delves into moments where she confronts genuine existential dread, the feeling of being so cornered she contemplates desperate measures just looking for an escape.
Wow, it really underscores a central truth of modern espionage. The mental resilience required to operate without protection in a hostile capital is the greatest tradecraft barrier of all. And compounding all of this is the Kremlin's shadow. The volatile political environment is constantly shaped by the presence or sometimes the intentional ambivalence of the Russian president himself.
Exactly. Characters don't make decisions in a vacuum. They evaluate every move, every theft, every betrayal based on how it will appear to the boss. This raises the stakes exponentially. Everyone is making existential decisions in every chapter, driving the story toward this breakpoint involving control of Vadim's hidden wealth.
Okay, let's synthesize what this all means for you, the learner. Moscow X is a masterclass in modern spy plotting. It examines the tension between deeply felt family loyalty and overwhelming institutional obligation.
It also shows the incredible reach of modern authoritarianism, not just through military might, but through these complex, often unseen financial networks that link global capitals.
And critically, it portrays the immense psychological cost of operating in a world where no one, especially not those holding millions in hidden state wealth, really has a safe option. The ultimate leverage in the modern world is not visible military might. It's the access to and control over hidden wealth. This book is a stunning illustration of that thesis. It makes you think, how much of global power truly rests on these hidden financial fault lines? Click the link on screen for the in-depth book critique. Subscribe, share, purchase via link, and think rationally. See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nurse your mind on the go.